but I guess what was it like to come out during quarantine? And I guess was it always planned to go kind of a direct to on demand, or was that just a pivot with the current times?
Well, I think
Should I go first?
yeah, Z. I think you're best to go first on that.
Thanks. So obviously, because of quarantine and because of COVID-19, the distribution and the circumstances did change for Tribal. So we were looking for a theatrical release, but we had to kind of change the plan slightly. And I know that the release in the US was a little bit earlier than planned. But actually, I think we've sort of captured the audience in this quarantine time, this lockdown time, and because it's on demand now as well. There's lots of people still home or still kind of social distancing, so I think we can kind of still reach out to those people who want to watch something new, and maybe you're not able to go to the cinema yet and things like that as well. So I think we've kind of captured those people still, but it wasn't the initial plan, but I think we've done the best that we can do with kind of this current time and circumstances. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the film, and again, like you already said, it's out in America already and it releases in the UK next week.
And you all had the online premiere in the UK yesterday. It was sold out. I think you released more tickets, so I assume that was probably your first online premiere. How'd that go? And what was it like that versus previous premieres that you all have been to?
Well, for me, I mean, obviously as a director, you always like to see it on cinema first, but I think you've got to be understanding in the current circumstances, obviously with what's been happening, and we decided to do obviously a premiere online. And to be honest, it was just great to get so many people watch it. Great to launch it at this time of year and hopefully get the lockdown audience as well and people interested in the film. And I think it's been shared quite a lot. I mean, the trailer seems to be getting us quite a lot of hits. Word seems to be getting around. People seem to be sharing the stories about the film, the reviews about the film, and we seem to be hopefully striking a chord with a lot of action and horror fans over this one, with hopefully getting the blend just right.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the blend. I mean, that was one thing that that really struck me about this film, just from kind of the poster.
We would have loved to have done a red carpet premiere.
Oh yeah, that would have been fun to see. But I guess a virtual red carpet's going to be the standard for the next couple of months at least. Who knows how long it'll go. You mentioned the blend. One of the things that struck me was, I didn't watch the trailer. I just kind of saw the poster, and I expected this to be a lot more action focused. But one thing that kind of struck me was this really was kind of a horror movie first, with stars that were really good at action. It didn't try to, it kind of blended the two really well, and it didn't try to do one or the other too much. It kind of had a nice balance. So that was an interesting aspect that I thought. I assume that's what drew both of you to the project. But is that something that was appealing to you?
Yes. If I'm okay to go first on this one, yeah, to be honest, when Zara approached me with the project, obviously I was really thrilled to work with her again. Particularly with this being her first film as a comeback after an injury she sustained on Doctor Strange. So it was a very important project for her to relaunch her and get her back into doing, proper feature films in a lead role again. Originally it was more horror. We've added a lot more action to the mix. I think the action had some in the original, but we've added a lot more. We've tried to keep the fight sequences very realistic, very hard hitting. So you've got quite a good mixture of Krav Maga, you've got kickboxing, you've got gritty close quarters combat. And obviously this is, Zara's forte. This is what she does best. She's a fantastic kickboxer, Taekwondo. So yeah, I mean, for me, obviously I love martial arts. I'm always brought up watching martial arts films. I wanted to put as much action in there as possible, as much fighting in as possible, and to try and showcase everybody to the best of their abilities. And I think we've got a good variation of fighting styles and some interesting scenes. And also one important thing is Zara does all her own stunts. Thomas Dodd does all his own stunts. They did not have stunt doubles at all. there's no wire work with people getting pulled, doing jumping kicks, back spinning kicks, things like that. So what you see is absolutely what you get for this one.
I just add to that, we also didn't have the budget for that, but not that we wouldn't have wanted to do our own stuff anyway, but it was no budget. Anyway, right. But, I think that's right. We want originally Tribal was very much horror based, so there was a lot more gore and things. And I think having Matt come on board, we sort of balanced that out much more. So I think it's nicely blended with the horror elements and the action as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed all the fight scenes and the action moments.
Mm-hmm. I want to really ask something before we really get deep into this interview. Now, with all the talent that's involved with this film, everyone seems to have nicknames, but I don't think I found Matt's nickname. So I just need to just know really quick, Matt, if you have a nickname. We have Raider, of course, here, and you have Blade and some others. But like, Matt, what is your nickname that floats around the set?
To be honest, you're right. Do I have one? Z, I don't have one. Look, we have to create one now.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah,
Matt.
Yeah.
Would you, Matt?
Yeah, that's funny. That I actually, guys, I don't. No, I didn't have one. No. So
did you have a nickname when you were growing up, Matt, or kind of like old college friends and buddies and stuff? Have you ever had a nickname?
I did, but I don't want to tell anyone.
I'm too
shy. They used to call me the Rooster because you used to run very fast when I was a kid. So that was it. So
Rooster's pretty good. They're good, guys.
That's it. Nothing to do with movies, but there you go.
You gotta have something. Yeah.
Well, as a director, I imagine you had to cut a lot of footage, so we could call you the Cutter.
That's true. I started with an editing background, really. So yeah.
But that does kind of does.
Make this stick. We're gonna make one of them stick.
That does kind of go into my question: is that of the other previous interviews that you've done, you two have both made a lot of emphasis on the idea of staying within budget, which I think is in any project, in any profession, that's always key. Or just any walks of life. Want to make sure you stay within your means. What was really the challenges in doing so? And also because although that's a really practical thing, how come there was just so much emphasis on it right now? Was there a fear of what you envisioned that you wanted to do that, potentially you saw that you were going to get out of budget? That way you just kept it drilled in like, hey, stay in budget. But like what was kind of the mental process going through that, making sure that, you stayed within your means here?
So we did actually go over budget initially, and then the story changed partway through. So we had some new elements that came into Tribal. So from the outset, we did kind of go over budget and had further investment, but it's still a micro budget film. And I think one of the limitations you have with such a small budget is just time, and I think Matt will agree on that, because you don't have the locations for as long, you don't have as much time to shoot things and cover things as much as possible. So I think we were focused on that. I mean, we poured in a lot of resources for this film as well, which was incredible, but I think on any movie, the more budget you have, the more you can do. So we were very mindful on keeping within that extended budget, and just getting the best out of everything that we could, whether that was locations or props or wardrobe or cast and locations. And also, especially with the visuals, we wanted to do as much as possible. So there was as little CGI needed and required as possible as well, because post-production brings its own budget as well, so we wanted to we were very mindful of that, but I think we got the best out of the budget that we did have. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Matt, but definitely time was the main constraint.
Yes, he's absolutely spot on there. We all, obviously everybody would like to have, bigger budgets to do things, but also with bigger budgets, you sometimes get bigger problems sometimes. So at least we knew what we had to achieve. I knew when I came on board the project, roughly what the budget was and that we had to deliver it in this certain time period. And, like Zara was alluding to, we had a great team ethic on this film. And, a lot of people take credit for what they do, but individually, but really we had a great team. We had a lot of people putting in resources, helping us, finding locations, getting props. Even when it comes down to the producers, one of the producers, Thomas Dodd, his family were enormously helpful in providing catering services, organizing things in the Liverpool area. But also just to let you know that there isn't a lot of movies shot in and around Liverpool. So this will be maybe one of the main ones that's this year coming from the city of Liverpool in England. So for them, they obviously had a big responsibility on their shoulders, and we're just very pleased to keep it very near the budget that was originally planned, and hopefully deliver a high quality product at the same time.
Yeah, I couldn't go any further in this interview without saying the quality is top tier. There's two things that really sticks out to me. When you think independent film, small budget, you think of a lesser quality, of like the expectation of, well, you know, that's what they can work with, and the visuals on this is spectacular. To me, it doesn't feel like a small budget film because of just how visually aesthetically pleasing this film is. And, you know, much like I said in the review, is that, you know, especially when it comes down to films that is primarily in the dark or low light scenes, you know, that's where a lot of filmmakers struggle in, especially with lesser budgets. And this one was just crystal clear, the clarity. It was just, like I said, visually pleasing the entire time. Zara, to you really quick, coming from a major film like Doctor Strange and your return to the big screen, so coming from a big budget film to a smaller budget film, you know, what can you really tell us as, you know, viewers, you know, what experiences and knowledge were you able to obtain in order to make sure you can craft this in the way it needed to be done with lesser money?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really awesome what you just said, because that was our plan all along, just to make sure that even though we were working within this micro budget, that we wanted to deliver something of good quality, and the production value and the production level, you know, outshone the budget. And I think it's only now we're really mentioning the micro budget because we're so proud of what we did with that small budget, and it doesn't look small budget. So I'm so glad you guys think that as well. But obviously working on Doctor Strange, like a multi-million-pound franchise with Marvel Studios, you know, I was very well looked after. I had my own trailer, I had my own chair, you know, catering was amazing. Worked with super talented actors, you know, Benedict Cumberbatch, Chiwetel, you know, Tilda, Mads Mikkelsen, all these like amazing A-list actors. So that experience alone was incredible, and I took a lot from that. There was a, you know, incredible stunt team and stunt department that I had the opportunity to work with. So, you know, lots of lessons and knowledge and experience taken from that. But I think with Tribal, for me, it was about collaborating more with the different departments, with Matt, the other guys involved, the other producers, and more of a team effort in that sense, because we didn't have that budget to spend. And it was definitely everybody pulling their weight a lot more. And for me, wearing different hats and being able to kind of take my experience and knowledge from Doctor Strange and such films, and then, you know, really working together in a team and making it happen and making it work together. And I think we all did that collectively, because we all have experience in different films and different productions. Yeah. And I guess you just kind of take that knowledge with you, and then you move on to the next thing, and then you hopefully do a bigger, better job, and we all learn from that. So yeah, absolutely. Doctor Strange was a great learning curve for me. I took a lot from that, which was really awesome. Did you like Doctor Strange, by the way? Did you enjoy the film?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I felt like that was a trick question there.
Did you see the poster in
I feel like I'm
as well?
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I'm marking myself into that one.
Just check it.
And Zara, I really like how you mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, the visuals on Doctor Strange are just absolutely incredible as well. It's kind of so trippy, and the whole vibe and stuff. But we obviously didn't have that budget. But again, just going back to the initial sort of point, we wanted to make sure that Tribal had the best production value and quality that we could deliver collectively. Definitely.
I'm almost scared to ask, like, where did you feel like it lacked at? Because again, it just was just so visually pleasing. I you know, for watching it on once on the laptop, once on the screen, I'm like, the quality just never lessened at all. It felt like this poor. At one point, I was like, I'm checking my TV. I'm like, are you okay over there? Like, you're kind of showing off right now. I've never seen you just look this pristine right now. Like, I felt justified in the expense now. So thank you for that. But it just really was really well done. And, you know, for somebody who loves a good low light, even in photography, who loves to shoot in low light, to kind of see a film completely set, and majority of it set in that stain, and I could actually see. That's an amazing thing. And David would tell you 100%. We have seen films where it's like, I can't watch this. It's too dark. I can't. It's nothing we can do about this. Like, and this one was not a problem at all. It was beautiful.
Great.
I think that was important for you, wasn't it, Matt? Especially the action.
Yes, it was. A couple of people have picked up on that, so I'm glad you did pick up on that in this interview, because we have made it a touch brighter, so you can see the action clearer, you can see the moves clearer.
Yeah.
We could have gone down that road where we just crushed all the blacks, made everything shadowy and dark. But I think we do have the shadows in the right places. You'll see there's a couple of scenes in the movie. There's one, quite iconic scene where Zara's character appears to save the day, as it were. And, we've got some nice lighting going on there with some nice use of shadows. And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people are trying to conform to this. You've got to make it super dark and you can barely see someone's eyeball or the side of their nose, to tell a story. And I think it's also important for fight fans to see the action.
Exactly.
Because you see so many of these films where they're so dark, and you're trying to piece together the choreography and watch the scene. And sometimes the lighting is, detracting from your viewing pleasure, really. So just wanted to make it very clear, transparent, and hopefully people can enjoy the action.
And for the horror element of it, the one thing that invests fans is when you can see a character that you're investing in is scared, then you tend to be scared. But if you can't see their face, then you don't know what to think. You can't engage in a level of intensity or severity in the scene if you can't even see the person. You know what I mean? So it's like, being able to see true fear in a person in the dark, it's like, okay, clearly it's going to. And there's a couple of scenes for sure where characters, especially when you talk about shadows, where characters kind of appear in front of the screen, you instantly think like, what's going on? And you look at their face like, oh, and then obviously some things transpire. It's like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. So, and I think you can kind of tell what scene I'm particularly talking about here. But yeah, there's, that's why that's important, So thank you so much for your all's work in that. Like, it's beautifully done.
No, I know. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, and we like Zara was saying before, we tried to keep the CGI down to a minimum as well on the film. I know we could say that was budgetary reasons, but even me, when I was asked to, when we obviously had to add blood splashes and things like that to the machete use of that, we just kept it minimal. Nothing crazy, nothing like the old Zatoichi movies where you're seeing blood flying around every time the guy gets sliced in half. There's like 2 buckets of blood flying everywhere. We just tried to keep it very naturalistic. The blood was all dark looking as well, which is something I haven't really referred to in interviews yet, but we kept it quite dark looking, not too colorful as well, to match obviously the darkness of the underground. So, a lot of thought even went into the, the post-production of the film. Like you say, when you're doing an independent movie, you've got to try and hit all bases hard, and make sure you do a great job on everything, not just acting, not just script. It goes right through to the post-production in the sound design, the music, everything. So we just obviously just trying to do the best possible movie we could do.
Yeah, just want to give a little shout out to Steve Webster. So he was our DOP. So Matt worked very closely with him on the lighting, and because the majority of the film is underground, again, like you've already touched on, it was really important to us that you guys could see what was happening, but still kind of keep that suspense and that kind of underground feeling. But Steve did a great job. And again, because of budget limitations, we didn't have a huge crew. It was kind of minimal people, and especially working underground in the tunnels that we were in, it wouldn't have worked to have a big crew because, there were tight spaces sometimes. So I just want to give a little shout out to him because he did a great job. And, you guys working together collectively, I think really paid off.
Yes, definitely. And obviously, Steve did a great job. I've known Steve for quite a long time now because I worked on a film with him about 10 or 11 years ago. And it was obviously good to have him on the movie. He you know, obviously he and his brother did a lot of the lighting in the film and kept everything how we wanted it in terms of shadows, in terms of keeping it minimalistic, you know, underground. So yeah, it does a great job, and I think, you know, you can see that when you watch the movie. I think it all looks great. So very happy.
Yeah, that tunnel lighting was fantastic. It really kind of sets the stage for what's going on. I did especially like that you mentioned that you realize the budget limitations and focused more on effects than CG. I mean, one of my pet peeves is when you've got some CG, but it just really pulls you out. And in this movie, and I think in a couple of recent horror movies where I think there's been a focus to not do CG and to do more, you know, effects and makeup and things like that, it really helps with your immersion. Because if you see something that just looks off, all of a sudden you're just kind of like questioning, like, what did I just see? Is that really what I'm supposed to be afraid of? So the fact that you could see the fighting, the fact that you could see the enemies early on, like I loved all that about this film.
Yeah, great. One thing I would like to say as well. Sorry, Z, you go for it.
Matt, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say quickly, just a shout out to obviously Stefan Thumb and Paul Munder. Stefan Thumb did the music, and all the music was actually post-produced in Los Angeles at you know, at the Hans Zimmer studio. So, you know, the music we got done from the US. This is a contact I've known for a number of years, and he fantastic composer, musician. He did a fantastic job, I think, in Tribal, creating the atmosphere. And obviously Paul Munder, who's UK based, did a brilliant job with the sound design and adding all the effects and the Foley and the kind of, you know, the noise of the creatures and the atmospheric effects. So I think having those two on board really added a huge amount of quality to the film.
So when I saw this film, I got some vibes from like Resident Evil. I think it was an obvious one. I got some Dead Rising vibes, which is one of my favorite games. And as bad as the movie is, I love the movie as well. I guess, you know, were those influences? Dead Rising, not Tribal. Tribal's great. Dead Rising's also just a fun, you know, silly zombie movie. You know, were those influences? Was there anything else that kind of you know, got this film, you know, inspired it and inspired some of the sequences?
Originally it was kind of the because the story changed from the original concept when Johnny Walker came on board and rewrote the script, but the original kind of vibe was more Hills of Eyes and more on the horror line. So I think it was when Matt came on board and then Johnny Walker came on board that it kind of switched up a little bit with a bit more of the action. So definitely Resident Evil vibe. Yeah, definitely get you on that one. And perhaps like the Wrong Turn movie. And yeah, because I think because the original concept changed, I think that the vibe of the film sort of changed along the way as well. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I agree with you. When Zara and Vic came to me with the original script, you could see the potential in the project straight off. It was very clear. But I think once we had a talk about it, and both Zara and Vic were great at taking on board any suggestions that I had. I was only suggesting to get Johnny on to try and get the structure a bit more organized in the script, and also get more action in there, because I know, you know, the audience will want to see Zara Phythian doing action, doing fighting, you know, doing all the martial arts. So we had to find a way to get that into the film. And, you know, I think we did. The other major change was making the Caitlin and Brad characters the sole leads in the film, because I think in the original script they were mixed in with all the other characters, and a lot of the other characters were there more near to the end, whereas this one we wanted to play off the chemistry between the two of them and hopefully build something maybe for the future. And I think that really comes across. I think both Rosu Hennessy, who plays Brad, and obviously Zara playing the Caitlin character, I think their chemistry really comes across. They play each other very well. And the other actors and actresses in the film add different qualities. You know, you've got a bit of comedy in there from Grayson Matthews, who plays Ollie. You've got the quality of Rachel Warren in there as well. So you know, it's a good mix. It's a good mix of different characters. And I think whenever you work on a script, even for me, if it was one of my scripts, I'm very open-minded for someone coming on board and saying, look, I think we could do this, we could do that, and it will improve the film, but still keep the original concept. And I think, you know, that's what we've done with Tribal. And yeah, I'm obviously very pleased the way it's turned out and that people are liking what we've done.
I like that you mentioned that you added some more action, because one of the things that I actually really noticed was, you know, Ross and Zara, that like there's not as much action as you'd expect in one of your movies where you're headlining, but you really get a chance to act. And then, you know, one thing I noticed partway through is like the leads are actually really good. Like you kind of expect them to come in and just be serviceable and then get to the fight sequences. But here you spend so much time following your characters that you really kind of get attached to them and get to see you kind of stretch your acting chops, which was really fun.
Yeah. So telling the story as one of the action scenes was important to us, wasn't it? So not just going straight to the action, but having some story that you could follow and making the film watchable in that sense, I think was important to all of us, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, and also we did the build. There's a build up in the film, as which you've seen. We tried to build it up slowly. What happens with the characters, and you know, we set the scene of the whole of the bailiffs. They go to the property, and then obviously they've got to clear the property. And then, yeah, I think for me, it would have always been nice to maybe get a bit more characterization in there, a bit more dialogue. But to be honest, we wanted to keep the running time what it was. It's an 86-minute movie. We wanted to keep that at that length because it keeps it fast paced. I think once the film starts changing halfway through, the action really doesn't let up. It's like it goes from one action scene to the next. And from that, you know, we've got to please the action and horror fans. You know, this is obviously a very important thing. We've got to get as many action scenes in there as possible. And obviously horror, moments of horror as well. So
you mentioned that this was filmed in Liverpool. One thing that I was wondering is, you've got this amazing catacomb structure, these tunnels that a lot of the film takes place in. Where did you find those? And, you know, I guess what all did you have to do? You mentioned the lighting, so I assume that there was some, you know, sort of mine lights or things that were put in there, but what all did you have to do to get that set up? Because that was kind of the perfect setting for this movie.
Yeah, we were very lucky. We obviously, I went out, Thomas Dodd went out, Natalie Burns, who is the production manager on the film. We're all going out trying to find tunnels in all different areas locally, both in Liverpool and Manchester. And fortunately enough, we managed to find some fantastic ones. And, you know, they were very easygoing about letting us use the location. As long as we were able to film it during a certain time of day. But we were just, yeah, so privileged because it was basically an underground network of tunnels underneath Liverpool city centre, which is what we used. And we added, obviously, our own lights in there, but tried to keep them as minimal as possible to obviously maintain the atmosphere of where you were. But yeah, I can't count the amount of times I banged my head. You know, I was always the one. I was always the one wearing the helmet.
Matt, let me add to that. You were the one that banged your head, and you were the person wearing the safety helmet. Nobody else banged their head at all during the whole shoot. But Mr. Routledge, Rooster over here, is the only person that banged his head.
It's true. It's true. I'm terrible. Every location, I think I bang my head. Every single one. So yeah, but you know, the good thing is on screen you can tell a lot of them are very claustrophobic. They're very small, and obviously the wider ones we went in gave us a bit more flexibility to do larger scale fight scenes. But yeah, it was a privilege to obviously film for me, because Liverpool's practically my hometown. To do a martial arts action film in my hometown was a great privilege for me, and for it to get seen in all over the world, particularly in the USA, is, you know, it's a great privilege.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So Matt, we've seen I think it's been more of a trend in movies in general in Hollywood to have, you know, people with a solid stunt background go in and take the directing spot and kind of make movies their own. You know, most recently I can remember Sam Hargreaves from Extraction, which is a fantastic movie. You could really see that stunt pedigree. And then this film as well, you had, you know, just such good action sequences that were built onto this horror plot. So, you know, I guess, what was it like stepping behind and taking that on? And Zara, was it different working with Matt versus maybe some of your other projects? Someone who has, you know, maybe a better eye for action, or maybe at least more experience with that?
Yeah, I think obviously it helps with me having two outstanding performers. Sorry, Z.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Obviously had two outstanding performers in both Zara and Tom, both world champion kickboxers. Zara particularly knows how to fight for film, as well as obviously in real life, and took her experience, you know, onto the movie, helped some of the other characters doing falls and things like that. So, but the most important thing is your job is done a lot for you when these people already know how to do all their own stunts and know how to do the martial arts. For me, I was just trying to shoot it in a specific way where I wanted to show the action clearly. I didn't want it to get very edited, very choppy, very cutty. So you're trying to cover up the performer. We want to see what the performer can do, you know. So Zara can do all these spinning kicks. She can do all the, you know, all the weapons work. And we want to see every part of the choreography for at least 10 seconds or more in some parts, you know, rather than cutting every split second. For me, it's just not my style. I'm not a fan of the wobbly camera either. I don't like the wobbly cam stuff. I think people tend to use that to over accentuate the action when sometimes it's just not needed. You can just put it there and let the performer do their thing. So from a technical side of things, that's what I'm always consciously thinking of. And obviously we did the previs, which is the choreography beforehand at Zara's studio in Nottingham. So that helped enormously in us plot out what we're going to do and where the camera was going to be for when we were shooting.
For me personally as well, I think it was great to have Matt because he knows how to shoot action. So I've worked with some fantastic stunt guys and directors and, you know, choreographers and things before, which is great. And I had a confidence in Matt that I knew he was going to shoot the action really well. But I think sometimes when you watch a film back, you might have incredible action sequences and things that have been choreographed, but then it kind of sometimes lets itself down in the edit when you watch the final film, because you're like, oh, they should have done this angle, or they should have cut to this, or, you know, they've used the shaky cam and maybe that's the trend at the time, but it doesn't always work. So I think having the confidence in Matt, because we knew that the action was so important to him, to make sure he was shooting it right, and he had the edit in mind already. So I think that gave me an extra confidence in that sense.
That's awesome. Nothing like good continuity to make the things work, you know. So because we're running up on our time really quick, I'm going to compile a big question here. First of all, I just want to also throw a pitch out there. Now, I don't know if this is still happening, but I know there's been rumors for the last few years, but I'm just going to just lobby Zara's name into the hat here that if they do that all-female Expendables film, that make sure that, you know, their people get in touch with your people, because I don't see how you do not get in on that. That would just be awesome, considering your body of work and your martial arts background. So that's the thing that needs to happen. But speaking of martial arts now, speaking of martial arts now, this entire cast all has, it's a complete mixing bowl of martial artists from all different walks of background. And then Zara, you went ahead and decided that, you know, even with the accolades that you've already had, that you had to then make a call to Grandmaster Samuel Clark, from the IP, the Ip Man Wong Chong martial arts system, as if you needed more help here. But considering all these different people with different walks of background, from their film experience and the martial arts background and so on, how was it just sitting around in the downtime with you all? Did you like channel your inner childhood and everybody's kind of play fighting and tussling each other up a little bit? Like, you just have to think with all this that's happening here that there had to be some outtakes there amongst you all.
We've got some funny outtakes. There are some funny moments on set, and I guess I sort of didn't have the chance to, actually I did a few times. So Thomas and I did have a few kind of like little play fights, actually, we did, which was very fun. I'm going to leave that there. So yeah, we did have a little bit of fun. And I know Ross was kind of teaching Rachel some kind of Krav Maga self-defense stuff in the downtime as well. So we did have a really good time. I think for me as well, just wearing a couple of different hats, sort of on the producer side, and then, you know, the role of Caitlin, I didn't have as much fun maybe in that sense because I had other roles to do. But yeah, we definitely had some good downtime. And I think it was important to bring Samuel Kwok in with the Ip Man Wing Chun because we wanted to kind of represent a lineage and a style behind Caitlin as well. So that was really important to me. But yeah, we had a good time on set in the downtime. I think we built up a really good team and camaraderie, and yeah, had some nice little play fights just every now and again, you know?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of fun.
I just want to add really quick. So because we know Caitlin, the character, suffered from PTSD, which is, you know, a really, really it's an important thing because a lot of our troops come home and they're all suffering from this. So it was I thought that was amazing to be able to highlight that. What I was wondering, because I guess I didn't quite see a definitive answer out there, but is the whole practicing with the wooden dummy, is that like a therapeutic treatment for, or known treatment for soldiers suffering from PTSD? And is that why it was more highlighted? Because I wasn't sure, was it either that, or was it just Caitlin's character, her way of like mentally putting herself back into the action, and that's how she kind of practiced with it to kind of, you know, decompress, so to say?
Yeah, absolutely. The second point that you made there, it was her way of dealing with this situation and being able to kind of return back to some kind of normality, or refocus herself as well. And I think in, you know, the flashback scenes, kind of see the military kind of war scenes and scenarios, but you don't see exactly what happened that triggers this kind of trauma and stuff. And you know, she's kind of lost teammates, and she, you know, it's kind of her responsibility. So that's PTSD. So you know, these moments when she's underground and stuff really comes back to her. But I think for my sort of expression for Caitlin was that that almost therapeutic thing, just getting her back on track and being able to kind of deal with this emotionally and mentally. Definitely.
Awesome.
I saw the PTSD as, you know, maybe something we can work through in Tribal 2 when that comes around. Any thoughts on, you know, what's next for this? This movie obviously is trying to start a franchise with a focus on the characters and the tribal name. So I guess what is coming up next in this world?
There's a few people that have said that, actually, especially about the PTSD, and quite a few people have sort of gone, Tribal 2, Matt, what's going on?
Exactly. Obviously, I think we'd all love it to happen. It was a nice little scene, which you see at the end of the first one, which I think does lead the audience into obviously possible sequels. Obviously, it'd be great, as everyone's saying, to see the further adventures of Caitlin and Brad, you know, and see what happens for a second one. Is it fair to say we have already got a decent idea of what to do with the second one, but we're just trying to gauge, obviously, the interest in the first one, and then we'll obviously take it from there. But me personally, absolutely love to do it. I think it might have a very different kind of setting. That's probably all I can say so far.
After months of quarantine. After months of quarantine, you're going to set it in some sort of tropical island just to get out, just to get somewhere.
I've got to do that for now.
Have you been to treatment?
So that's kind of the.
Would you guys like to see a Tribal 2?
Oh yeah.
Would you guys like to see? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I liked the main characters a lot. I'd like to see more of them and see more of their relationship explored. Like you said, Matt, their relationship is kind of hinted at, or at least, you know, some sort of future either professional or personal relationship is hinted at. So I'd love to see more of that.
Great. Yeah, and I think you're right about the PTSD. I think that was already on my mind. If the sequel can somehow happen, that was definitely going to be explain more the backstory of what happened with the Caitlin character in the past. So that's definitely on our minds, because obviously that's what you want. That's what will link the original film, and you know, it'll hopefully flesh the characters out a lot more as well, which is great.
So that's kind of the end of the formal interview. Now we're going to move into just some lightning round questions. Just, you know, when we watch, we kind of pick up on things and things that the characters do, and just kind of questions about the film and your own background that we want to ask you. So these are just quick questions. You can answer as much or as little as you want. You can choose not to answer, but we try to keep it so that they're all answerable. So I guess the first question, in the movie, Ross gets Zara a latte kind of after her Wing Chun practice scene. So I guess, what's your go-to coffee?
Latte. That's why we put it in the film.
Yeah, same for me. Has to be honest. Yeah, same for me. Yeah.
Perfect.
But also for Russell's character, for Brad, it was also to show that he knows Caitlin and he knows what her favorite coffee is. So he bought her favorite coffee after such an emotional day at work the day before. But yeah, latte all day long.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay, so the team does have a tea break during their work. What's your go-to tea?
I like Teddy's tea. Are you Yorkshire tea? What's your tea? I quite like herbal tea as well, but Teddy's tea. It's a UK blend.
Yes, Yorkshire tea, but I'm a bit partial to green tea at the moment. I'm trying to do this health kick thing, so any green tea with honey or something like that. But Yorkshire tea, those two. If I can pick two, they're my two. So, yeah.
Always
You
important.
can't even pick one.
All right, one. All right, I'll say green tea then, because then we got two different ones.
Always important to stay healthy during lockdown. So you know, a large part of the early section of this movie is them cleaning up this you know, this abandoned warehouse. So, you know, what's the messiest place you've had to clean up? Is it, given lockdown, is it now your house at this point?
Can I just say, if I switch this background off, then you'll see. then you'll see what messy is. Trust me. Because we're looking to do some building at the moment, so all the stuff has been pushed into one room. So actually, right now is a perfect time to ask that question.
I'm usually tidy and clean and organized, but the place that we shot at was called Lister Library, and it was quite a dirty, old, rundown building. Was it quite a historical building in Liverpool? So it was, you know, yeah, a little bit of a nightmare to clean, and brings a little bit of truth to the story as well.
Yeah.
Even this question gives me just mental chills here. But what's the most inconvenient spot where you didn't have a cell phone signal?
Well, underground, we didn't have a signal.
Yeah, I think that would have been. Yeah, there's one particular scene I think you might remember in the film, and it's where the characters are going through that very, very slim tunnel, the very, very thin one, and I think it's about 4 or 5 of the main cast are going through there. I remember there was definitely no phone signal down there. We had a drone. We had.
Yeah,
sorry.
We wanted to see a drone shot, didn't we?
Yeah.
We wanted to have a really cool drone shot down there, but there was just no Wi-Fi or signal, so we had to miss that shot. But outside of the film, my most inconvenient place of having no signal was actually at my old house. So I moved home a year ago. We had no cell phone service. Yeah. But, apart from down in there.
Just fair warning, like if you ever travel in New York and you know New York subway system is just a mess in its own. Some stations don't have cell phone signal, and there's nothing worse than when you don't know what train to get on, and then you're like, well, I'll get a map, but then the map people are like, well, that'll be $10. Like, okay, so I'm just gonna figure this out. Not paying $10 for a map.
Roll the dice.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be kind of nice.
When I was on. Sorry guys, when I was on the New York subway system, I just had like a tour guide, like one of my friends that was there. Just
that's the way to go.
So, you know, it didn't matter about the service because I didn't know I was going anyway, and I just trusted my friend just to kind of take me where we needed to go. So,
that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So In this movie, I noticed Zara had a lot of sword play, you know, which was always fun to see, especially when she's running down with two swords and just, you know, hacking through the zombies, enemies, whatever you want to call them. So I guess if you had to choose hand-to-hand or weapons combat, what would you choose?
That's a good question. I really love both. And I think the weapon is just an extension of your open hand or your empty hand anyway. But I really love both. And I think it was nice to bring the weapons element into this film as well, and then still have some hand-to-hand combat. But I love weapons. I love working with weapons, weaponry. The Chinese whip chain, the 9-section whip chain is one of my favorite weapons. You know, I always kind of love bringing any kind of weaponry to the screen as well. But of course, I love open hand stuff. But I think, yeah, I really enjoy working with weapons, definitely.
Matt, you can answer too.
Yeah, for me, obviously, I'm same as Zara. I do love weapons, but I'd always prefer empty hand. I think because that goes back for me because I'm such a big Bruce Lee fan, and I know he uses the nunchaku a lot in his films, but for me, empty hand is my favorite. I like the weapons because I think they add an extra element to it. I think it can. You get some additional beautiful scenes, particularly with the bow, you know, with the whip chain, which Zara was just mentioning, with the nunchaku, with the butterfly knives. There's so many different weapons. But I think for me, it always goes back to the original empty hand combat. It's always nice to see when those scenes are done particularly well. I think they always look fantastic. So,
All right, favorite horror film.
right. Gosh, that's a hard one. I'd have to say The Thing. I'd have to say The Thing, the John Carpenter movie, because you've got such the evolvement of what happens to the characters from absolutely nothing looking like there's a problem at the start to everything just turning into a catastrophe at the end. And the process of which the characters go through in the film. I think it's always got that repeated watchability. It's got that great suspense. I know maybe some people think the effects might be a bit dated, but I mean, it's an old movie. And I think Carpenter was brilliant at that. And also his use of sound and music, you know, which is something I'm trying to use in my own work. I'm trying to take that influence and know that music is so important to telling a story.
I think the horror genre is my favorite genre other than action. So I love horror films, but there's quite a few. So one of my early favorites was like Nightmare on Elm Street when I was young and maybe not old enough to watch it. But
been there.
I think that's all of us.
My sister and I, we used to like steal the VHS tapes from the cupboard and like watch them.
Yeah.
I horror films. And I really like the first Saw film that came out, just like the gore elements and the sort of extremeness of that I really love. But Aliens is also another favorite of mine as well.
While we're at it,
you know,
and while we're at it, favorite action film as well.
Oh, favorite action. Oh, so many. Oh my gosh.
Don't anybody say Die Hard. We don't have time to talk about this. Is it a Christmas movie thing?
I was gonna actually. That was one of the first few. I was thinking. Go on, Z. Z, you go first on this because I want to see if yours is the same as mine.
I really find these questions hard, like having a favorite, being able to kind of pin down all these amazing movies just in one. But my most recent favorite action film is definitely Extraction. So that's one that I really enjoyed most recently.
That is an amazing movie.
That is a fantastic film.
Yeah, I agree. Most recent, it's incredible what they achieved with that, particularly some of the shots. The car scene, wasn't it, where the camera just follows the car and then it goes all the way back and the car's reversing. I mean, it's just like another level stuff, you know. And what's great is it's a filmmaker who's thinking on his feet on how to try and change it up a bit in terms of how you shoot an action scene, because we're seeing it all, aren't we, these days with effects and the way things are shot. So it was great that you had a stunt coordinator there directing a film and just knew exactly how it should be shot. thought I'd say that because I'm very impressed with that film. Yeah, I really liked it a lot. I don't know. I'd like to pick an old classic action film, but I'm trying to. Oh, I don't know what's classed as action in terms of the older movies. For me, I love Dirty Harry. You know, the first Clint Eastwood. Was it I like that one. But I wasn't going to say Die Hard. The first Lethal Weapon. The first Lethal Weapon as well was just groundbreaking when that came out. And even now, was it with 30, 40 years, it's still, there's going to be maybe another Lethal Weapon movie. It's incredible. Yeah.
Weapon 4 with Jet Li.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that Lethal Weapon. Yeah. When Jet Li's character in that one, I thought was great.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Everything with Jet Li is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so a couple more questions. You inherit a mansion, but it's full of zombies. Is that worth it?
I don't want to give us. Well, I guess you guys have all seen the film over there, haven't you?
Oh yeah, okay. You can choose not to answer if you don't want to spoil it.
If you get out alive.
And
yeah.
Go back.
I don't know how I'd answer that. Can you ask me that again? What was it? If there's a house full of zombies,
you inherit a mansion, but it's full of zombies. Is that worth it? Is the effort to clear it out worth it?
Probably not. God, I'd probably run a mile. I don't know what to do. How to lock it down as quickly as possible. I wouldn't know what to do with that, to be honest.
Maybe just don't use your basement. You just use the first 2 levels.
Yeah, don't go underground. Yeah, that's the first mistake. Yeah.
Oh, Caitlin and Brad, fine.
Yeah, call Caitlin and Brad. That's the first thing to do.
Just Caitlin and Brad. And then, so I noticed a couple. I'm sure there's many. You know, I don't have an eye for this, but I noticed a couple of signature moves that Caitlin had. One was, she would kind of get down and punch them in the gut a bunch of times, and then the one I liked is with the sword. She'd do kind of an X and then right in the center of it. So I guess for both of you, what would your signature move be, or what is your signature move that you would put on your profile?
My signature move has always been a sidekick in terms of martial art. I love the sidekick and the cleanness of the sidekick and the sharp edge of the foot. So my sort of signature move that I'm known for is kind of sidekick, and then my sidekick hold position. I guess I think that's one of my sort of favorite moves anyway. But I think just to add to the chain punch element that you just brought up in there within the fight scene, I think it was good to show that working in different ways in the film. Like she does that on the wooden dummy, she does that in one of the fight scenes that works really well and kind of disposes of the guy nice and easily, but then towards the end in a different fight scene it doesn't work as well, so she has to adapt as well. So I think that was kind of nice to see from my personal point of view, that not everything works every time, and from a female point of view, from the character playing the lead, I think that's nice to see that just because it's a female character, she doesn't have to win everything. You can see her getting hit and she gets beat, as well as being able to use these moves too. But so yeah, I really like that element. But sidekick is one of my favorite moves. What's your favorite move, Matt?
Jumping back splits kick for me. I know you see it quite a lot. I think it's one of Donnie Yen's signature moves, but I always think it looks so cinematic, graceful, looks really nice on screen. So you might see the odd one of them thrown in Tribal 2 if we get that.
Perfect. And then I just have one more question. Sorry, I know we're running up on time. One thing I loved about this movie is, you've got a strong female lead who's kicking ass, and Zara, your comment about how she has to adapt to still fight was great. Was it always envisioned as a strong female, or was that just the hand you were dealt when you got such a fantastic cast?
I think, Zara, this was always meant to be a vehicle for Zara, specifically, obviously, for Zara and Thomas Dodd, who plays the Richard Kenning character in the movie. And I think that's what we obviously tried to achieve. That's what I think we have achieved. So, to be honest, it's great to see Zara in another lead role as well. where she can really show her stuff, not just in terms of acting, but also in terms of fighting as well. So yeah, it was important to get her back into the audience and get in the world seeing, you know, what she can do. And like you said, Expendables 4, you know, that hopefully that phone should ring.
Fingers crossed.
Because obviously I'd love to see Expendables 4, and we're making, you know, we all make movies like this so everyone can go on to do even bigger and better things and get their careers moving, obviously constantly in the right direction. So I think that would be fantastic, you know, for Zara if she can get that.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to play that, you know, in that film, in that movie. But I think for me, in terms of Tribal, playing a strong female character is very important, but also having a realistic character and a believable character in terms of the action as well. So I love action films and martial arts and high kicking and flipping and all that kind of stuff. But I think for the action for this film, we wanted to make it relatable to the character and to make sense and not sort of be over exaggerated and unbelievable. So I think that was important for me to make sure that you could believe that this is what Caitlin would do and is doing to survive. So I think that was really important for me as well. And I think, yeah, and especially since my knee surgery, you know, just getting back into kind of filming and productions as well. I think in this industry, if you're not working, then you're very easily forgotten about, and you kind of, you know, you move on to the next person, and you're kind of pushed to the background. So for me, Tribal, as Matt said, was not a comeback film, but almost a comeback film in that sense. And to kind of, yeah, just, you know, give me a platform again to be working and to kind of showcase the martial arts, but also the acting side as well. And I think we need more strong female characters, lead roles in action films.
100%. All right. Well, thank you both, Matt and Zara, for joining us. If watching a strong female lead take on a bunch of zombies sounds great to you, and a fantastic film that has both horror and action elements, you should check out Tribal Get Out Alive. It's available in the US and it comes out in the UK next week. It's digital, so you can watch it, you know, on any platform. You can rent it anywhere and watch it in the comfort of your home. And it's a great movie to kind of kick this quarantine. So you know, thank you so much for joining us. Check out the movie, and as always, go to watchyourpass.com for all your movie news, reviews, deals, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.